I'm so excited to be here in South Carolina for PragerU's new partnership with you. 69% of 8th graders in the United States of America cannot pass a basic literacy test.
There are 4 parts of our brain that have to be connected by explicit instruction in order to become good readers, and that doesn't happen by chance.
I bet you use the word freedom every single day of your life.
Yes, we have an incredible country, an incredible state.
This is an opportunity to just tell everybody you're not forced to use this content, but you should really check it out because I think you're really going to enjoy it.
This is a great step forward for our state, and I'm really grateful for your partnership.
Superintendent Weaver, I'm so excited to be here in South Carolina for PragerU's new partnership with you.
Yes, welcome to our beautiful state, Marissa. I am so excited to talk a little bit about what's happening here in South Carolina. So many great things going on, and talking about the passion and excitement we have for making sure that our kids here in South Carolina understand what an amazing country we live in, what an amazing state they have, and how they're part of this amazing story.
So I want to thank you for partnering with us, but also thank you because this is my first time in the state capitol. So can you just tell me where are we and what's around us? Just give me a quick history.
Yeah, we're in Columbia, South Carolina on the grounds of our beautiful historic state house. And as you know, American history is full of triumph, tragedy, but I think most of all the word that I think of is resilience. And that's what's really represented by the beautiful state house that is right outside the window here, by the beautiful state mottos that are on the walls of this beautiful conference room that we're in. We actually have 2 state mottos here in South Carolina. The first one is, "While I breathe, I hope." And the second one is, "Prepared in mind and resources." And I love to tell our students that, they can remember those 2 mottos by a simple phrase: hope propels hard work. And hope is not really soft, wishful thinking like, hey, I hope I get ice cream after school, or I hope I don't have to take that test tomorrow. Hope is a really strong commitment and belief that the future can be better than the past, but it takes hard work to get there. And that's what that prepared in mind and resources is really all about, is rolling up your sleeves and doing the hard work that hope demands. And so we're so thankful that you're here.
I know that our team really enjoyed working with your team, and I really enjoyed getting to know you. I bet you use the word freedom every single day of your life.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. It's something that I think is so innate to our DNA, our shared DNA as Americans, and it's something that I draw great inspiration from.
Well, one of the things that I like to emphasize is that while PragerU is here to bring resources and to provide a crosswalk between the state standards and the content that we make, our content is completely free and is not mandated by you or the governor. It's really an option for teachers and parents to engage with content that is great. And we really appreciate that you signed off on our content, but we also want people to visit us and use our content because we win on our own merit, because they love what we make. And so this is an opportunity to just tell everybody, you're not forced to use this content, but you should really check it out because I think you're really going to enjoy it. And our staff poured over your state standards and made sure that the content that we've made and the alignment that we've made with your state is helpful to teachers. So they don't have to go and scramble on YouTube and other random places to find things that would meet their goals, but it's truly available to them. And so really excited about that. And I want to notate, because people might find this really surprising, that your website is absolutely awesome. I mean, we have worked so far with over eight states, and we've been looking at different portals for teachers to find content and students to find content, and you have put in great technology work. And so when people will go onto the state's website, they'll be able to find our content easily because of the technology investment that you've put in.
Well, thank you so much for noticing that. We have really been passionate about equipping our teachers with exactly what you're talking about, a wide variety of resources that we have pre-aligned to standards so that they know when they're teaching these resources that our kids are going to be getting the content that we know that they need in order to have a great education. And so we are so excited about the partnership with you and all the other civics resources that we are looking to bring to the table for our students and our teachers. We have an incredible country, an incredible state, and we want our students to know that history, to be proud of that history, and to know their place in that amazing story that we call America.
Well, speaking of civics, this is Constitution Week, and so we have created an alignment with your state standards where people can visit on your portal, but they can also go onto PragerU.com because anything we provided to you, we made available to parents. There is a window into that classroom. And so for Constitution Week, I just want to show the team's amazing work where people can actually download this packet or use the PDF with a whole bunch of links on content that will be helpful in teaching the Constitution. And a little secret here is I think a lot of parents will learn from it as well.
Yes. Oh, I know. I learned as I was going through this, and it's so incredibly rich in detail. It talks about why do we need a Constitution in the first place? What is the power of the Electoral College? What does that even mean? Why do we elect our presidents that way? There's just so many rich details in our Constitution that our students and our parents are going to learn from this. And what I love about this is that this isn't just firewalled for our public school kids. It's wonderful for them, but our homeschool families can use it. Our private school families can use it. Our virtual school students can use this. And so it's just a wonderful resource that really breaks down barriers and provides access to some of the most incredible content I've seen on this topic.
Yeah, and it's never too early to start teaching about American civics. And so we have content from kindergarten all the way to 104.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
This huge packet right here, all of this state standards and our alignment, we call this a crosswalk between what your teachers are teaching anyway and how we can be helpful as a supplement. And so this is an amazing product that our teams jointly created and super excited to just serve your state. I mean, what an amazing opportunity it is to just have this free new content available for them.
Absolutely. And I just want to say a huge thank you to your team and, of course, to the staff at the department for the incredibly hard work that goes into making sure that everything aligns with those standards. But because that hard work has been done, it's an easy resource for our teachers to pick up and to use with confidence. And so that's what we're really all about here in South Carolina, is equipping our teachers to do what they're called to do, which is to teach our students and to ensure that our students have access to the highest quality of supplemental resources and curriculum. And so this is a great step forward for our state, and I'm really grateful for your partnership.
Okay, possibly the thing I'm most grateful to you for is your take on cell phones in schools. I've been waiting for this moment because I have given so many speeches and talks to parents, and I have said to them that these cell phones are breaking our children's brains. Yes. And it is so hard for the parents to muster the courage to take these cell phones away from their children because their response is, well, but everybody has it, and then my child is going to be a social pariah if they don't have it. And I've just been praying to find some education leadership who's going to say, you know what, let's all get into this together, and let's take these break brain devices away from our schools. And you are actually doing that. My hero.
Well, thank you so much, Marissa. And I have to say, it's a team effort. I mean, we've been partnering with the governor on this, with the General Assembly on this, with local educators on this. I sent out a survey in May to 50,000 teachers across the state of South Carolina. We had 10,000 teachers respond. I thought we were going to shut down our server at the department. The responses were coming in so quickly. And as you know, a 20% response rate on a survey is unbelievable. Yeah. So these teachers feel passionate about this issue and about the fact that these phones are inhibiting their ability to do their job and to make sure that our kids get the education that they need. And beyond that, like you said, I mean, these are doing real damage to the mental health of our students, the addictions that these are causing, the anxiety and the depression that we know that is a direct result of overuse of technology. You know, this is a real danger. And I think as responsible adults, we have to step up. We are derelict in our duty if we don't. And so I'm so thankful South Carolina's leading the way. Our state board has just voted on a policy that will put phones up and away for the school day in every single public school in the state. And one more thing that I want to really emphasize here is that I think a lot of times in this conversation, it's about taking something away. And I would rather talk about what we're giving back to students and teachers. And to me, it's all about freedom to focus. It's freedom for our students to focus on their academic journey and their education. It's freedom to focus on their friends and their social development. Socialization is a muscle that we build, and you can't build that muscle when you're like locked into your phone. It's freedom to focus on safety. We know that sadly, there are emergencies that happen at our schools, and our students have to be focused on the adult who is trying to get them to safety in that emergency and not focused and distracted by their phone. And then of course, teachers, right? Freedom to focus on instruction. Our teachers want to be able to teach, not be cell phone police. And that's what this policy is going to do. So I think it's long past time that we got a hold of this. I'm proud that South Carolina is leading the way, and thank you for recognizing that.
It's so interesting how you put it, because these are basically virtual prisons.
Yes.
That's what they are. These kids are just locked into it, and many of these teachers are locked into these virtual prisons, and so we are freeing them from that. Have you gotten any negative pushback against this new policy?
You know, I think most of the pushback is from parents who are rightly concerned about that safety piece. But when you explain to them that when you talk to law enforcement who respond in real time to these situations when minutes matter, that the most safe thing that their student can be doing is not looking at their device, but again, focusing on that adult that is getting them to safety. And when you explain that to parents, I think a light bulb goes on. And so really, education, like you said, it doesn't stop at school. Education is for all of us. And so I think that just continuing to educate parents and the public about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we all have to be partners together in protecting the education opportunity and the mental health of our children, it just makes sense.
I want to run one more question by you, because it is one of the pushback questions that I get from parents when I say, let's take these brain breakers away. And that is, well, Marissa, times have changed. Things are more dangerous these days. We know we have immigration issues. We have more crime. I don't know if it's the same thing in South Carolina, but in California, there's incredible amount of crime, sadly. And so parents are afraid, and they feel like because the environment has changed, we need to put these devices in kids' backpacks so that we can protect them. What is your answer to that?
Well, first of all, thankfully, South Carolina is a law and order state, and we welcome you to come here if you ever get tired of the crime in California. But you know, I would say that this policy doesn't actually ban the phone. It says the phone has to be off, and how the individual school decides to do that, whether it's putting it in a yonder pouch, whether it's putting it in a cell phone locker, whether it's just saying you have to turn that phone off and have it in your backpack the entire day. We're not completely taking the phone away from the child, and so there still will be an ability to access that phone in the case of an emergency. And again, I think the thing that we really have to think about here is, what is this doing to our children's brains? I think that's a sad but accurate description of it as a brain breaker.
Right. Okay, so another thing that I love that you're doing is science of reading. We can geek out on this for a minute because, you know, I taught in school, and you have this vast experience and frustration with the literacy rates that are plummeting in the United States. I just looked up a figure: 69% of 8th graders in the United States of America cannot pass a basic literacy test. This does not mean that they cannot read the words, they just can't comprehend what it is that they're reading. But all of that starts in the early grades where they don't have that reading fluency. By the time they matriculate to higher grades, they're still struggling with the reading, and so they don't even have that comprehension ability. I'm sure the cell phones are a part of it, but a big part of it is just the wrong systems of instruction. And so you are trying to change that here in the state. By the way, we are trying to work on readers and a show that actually helps with both phonemic awareness and the blending so that we can catapult kids into reading at earlier grades, as well as infuse science of reading into how we're building these shows. And so soon we'll be able to give this to you all for free, of course, because we just want better readers and more literate Americans. But tell me a little bit about what you're already doing here.
Absolutely. Well, really, when it comes to teaching the science of reading, it's about building teacher knowledge and giving teachers the tools that they need in their toolbox in order to be effective teachers of reading. And unfortunately, most of our teachers are not currently getting that instruction in their college prep courses. Our higher ed education colleges are way more focused on woke politics, sadly, than on giving our teachers those foundational skills that they need to have to be a good teacher. And so here in South Carolina, we've invested in high quality professional development for teachers that is called letters training. It's a 2-year course and it's not inexpensive. So our General Assembly has ponied up a good bit of money to get this done. But here in South Carolina, we are halfway through our K-3 teachers. And at the end of this project, all of our K-3 teachers are going to be trained in that science of reading, the phonemic awareness, the fluency, the vocabulary, the phonics, the things that we know are the building blocks of good reading. And this is something that I am so personally passionate about that I told our teachers, I'm not going to make you do this intensive course if I'm not willing to spend my time doing it. And so I actually have been going through the letters training too. And Marissa, I have learned so much about the brain science of how we become good readers. As it turns out, and this is the geek out part, so I apologize, but it gets me excited. There are 4 parts of our brain that have to be connected by explicit instruction in order to become good readers. And that doesn't happen by chance. You have to teach that phonics and that phonemic awareness. And so that's what our teachers are learning. And I will tell you, of course, when we first rolled this out, some of our teachers said, "Are you kidding me? One more thing?" Of course, this is just the latest and greatest fad, and we'll move on from it. But the deeper they got into this instruction, they said, wait a minute, why has no one ever told me this before? And now they're seeing how this is transforming their ability to meet the needs of their students. And several of our teachers have come and said, I feel ashamed, I feel embarrassed, and I have to tell them, no, you didn't know. Is when we know better, we do better. And now we are doing better in South Carolina. And I think this literacy conversation ties so closely into what we're talking about with civics education here, because like you said, it's not enough just to know how to read the words, you have to understand them. And building that core knowledge of who we are and where we came from so that our students can read with comprehension and with understanding is really our goal here. So it's not just the building blocks, but they have to have those building blocks in place in order to get to that higher level understanding.
Yeah, Superintendent, I know that some of the people that are watching are not from South Carolina, and many of them are parents from around the country, maybe even around the world. If you could give some basic advice of what should a parent look for in those earlier years when it comes to literacy instruction, where they could say, this seems like the right thing that should happen in that classroom for my child, or this doesn't. Because I think so many parents have been gaslit or have been pushed out of the classrooms and are not really aware of what to even look for when approving the school that they're sending their children to, which they should, right? We should have that choice to approve what is happening in our classroom. And so just for the basic literacy content, what would you look for if you are a new parent sending your child to an early grade class?
I think you want to be asking your school, are you teaching them those letter sounds, those letter blends that they have to have, which is phonics, right? It's just kind of reading 101. Because unfortunately, for a long time in this country, we have been teaching kids to guess how to read, to say, hey, look at that picture. What does that picture look like to you? And so you could have a drawing of a horse and the child would say, well, that looks like a pony. All right, well, it does look like a pony, but that's not the word on the page. The word on the page is horse, right? And so you can't just guess at that. And so really, really pay attention. Are they teaching your children to guess, or are they actually teaching them to sound those words out letter by letter, sound by sound?
So many of those high frequency words have turned into just larger stacks of just guessing and memorizing words. And so how much can you guess and memorize? You really shouldn't be guessing and memorizing more than the high frequency words. You really need to learn how to blend the letters, which is what has happened with the whole language approach as opposed to the phonemic awareness, where at least they have those building blocks for reading with a few high frequency words. Right?
Yes, and of course there will always be sight words that you just have to memorize. But the problem is that the whole language and even the balanced literacy approach, they are teaching children how to read using techniques that struggling readers use. These are not the techniques that successful readers use. Successful readers know how to sound the word out. And so that's the most basic and important advice I could give to parents. And please, parents, pay attention to this, because reading is the foundation of all other learning. And as you said, in those early grades, they're really getting those building block skills that are going to set them up for the more advanced reading that they do later in their education career. And, as I think about many of the challenges and struggles that we face in our schools, we know that there are a lot of things that contribute to discipline issues. But imagine being a child in a school, say you're in 6th or 7th grade, and you're a struggling reader, and you're being asked to do work that you literally do not know how to do. Maybe you would act out. Maybe you would become a goof off. Maybe you would completely disengage and end up dropping out of school. So reading is the foundation of all other learning, and that's why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, well, and it really ties into your other passion, which is the screens. You can't compete reading a book versus this constant flow of dopamine when you're on a screen, whether it's those smartphones or even iPads. In my household, we don't allow any screen time during the week because it is your job to do your reading and you need to give your brain a rest. And so it's another thing that I encourage parents who have children who are just in the onset of starting to read or struggling, and if you're able to maintain this later on, just move the screens away and bring in some books and read with them and read next to them. You can read your book and they can read their books, right? And you can lean in and help them. And so I'm so excited that you guys are doing that here. I hope that you will be a shining light and example for the rest of the states. Congratulations on all your amazing work, Superintendent. It's just great to be here.
Thank you. It's a privilege to have you, Marissa. I appreciate you joining us in the Palmetto State today.
We love being in South Carolina.